We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
We can't tell our people they can vote yes on abolishing slavery unless at the same time we can tell them that you're seeking a negotiated peace.
It's either the amendment or this Confederate peace. You cannot have both.
How many hundreds of thousands have died during your administration?
Congress must never declare equal those whom God created unequal. Congress must never declare equal those whom God created unequal. Congress must never declare equal those whom God created unequal.
Leave the Constitution alone.
We are stepped out upon the world stage now, with the fate of human dignity in our hands.
Alright? Now, the reason why I'm saying this is this. If it should happen, are we prepared for the fix? Meaning, those who haven't been around to see what had happened with Martin, now I may put this in here for you to see, and what happened when it was Malcolm. You understand what I'm saying? The recovery process. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is for Obama. Everybody that is of melanated or melanin have their own opinions about this brother in their own way. Okay? But again, if this should take place collectively, I believe that something in us will click, that we will be like, enough shit is enough. Could this be the horn blast that lights the fire under the ass to finally get you to fucking move? And to anticipating that, to kick in the King Alfred plan to get you in the position they want you in. Okay? They've been fighting hard and long for a lot of people when they've been coming up with all these people that was coming, they call them terrorists now because they've been trying to reestablish itself with their so-called sovereignty. A lot of them is on that list now. Now that they're going after the gangs and they're putting them on there too, all they need now is something to ignite, to implement it based on the reactions that would take place. I just want y'all to think about that. Are we prepared for the fix? The fix can happen. Quit thinking that this shit can't happen, y'all. They done did it once. They done did it twice. I mean, we can go back. They done did a lot. They did it to Jesus too. If those for who go with that realm of thought, or Yeshua, or whatever they did it there too. Are you prepared for the fix? They have been under their so-called sick ethical code. They've been telling you. And the analogy is, this is who he feel himself is to be equivalent to. And they gave you, because remember, the thing that he's doing has something to do with the financiers, which are the bankers. Okay? Now again, I ask, are we prepared? And the reason why I'm asking, are we prepared, is because of this. Because we are the Johnny-come-latelys in the modern time. When we look at all nationalities across the board and the ethnicity that is divided in this nation here, we have made some strides, if that's what you want to call it, as into gaining certain information and knowledge. And now that we're trying to apply a lot of this, it's like playing chess and finally realizing the position that the other person has put you in after they call checkmate. Can you really maneuver your way out of checkmate to reverse the checkmate, to checkmate them? In that position, it's possible, but you're asking for the miracle. once somebody has gotten you in a position that compromises the momentum that you was trying to shift, you have to now refocus your mentality and try to apply a defensive mechanism. And that's what I think that's happened with us. We are now in a checkmate situation where when you look at it from across the board, you see that a lot of the governmental programs that a lot of people who use for assistance or assisted living who have succumbed themselves to it being their daily bread, and it has become a pacifier for most as a way to not have to deal with other aspects in life, because it was the tit, as I talked about earlier, that you sucked on to keep you nourished, to keep you afloat. Now that they're willing or going to pull, and the reason why a lot of this stuff is being pulled is because, again, we have to understand the situation with the fiat money and realize that the value of the dollar in itself is basically worthless. And so there has already been the agenda to say that they were going to have to come to a situation where they were going to have to pull the plug as if somebody was brain dead. You know, how long can you keep extensive care on an individual who is brain dead even though the body is still functioning? Another thing that I think a lot of people have not noticed is a lot of the zombie movies. I mean, you can turn on whatever, depending on what city or state you're in, and you look through your cable channel, you can pretty much find a zombie type movie, you know, on any channel. Why is these movies so prevalent in this particular day and age? And what is the scenario within those storylines that has something to do with something in reality? You understand what I mean? So, because of the cutbacks in the jobs and people not having the finances and they're not having the assistance through government programs, okay, a lot of people will become zombied. Okay, let's look at that scenario there. And these people who are out there who are selling the drugs, when you don't have the dependence of the people that you had, or the continuous influx of cash flow, because it's getting more scarce and harder for people to come up with dollars. So a lot of these vices that people have, a lot of them will be succumbing to a lot of things that will eventually get them into the incarceration. Okay, let's look at that dynamic of the CCA and look at how this has become privatized and has been in the corporate, it's been corporatized, privately corporatized, so that it can now flourish outside of the states where it has nothing to do with the budget, and the people who are running it are private, could be international. So the only I would say the only contract that the city or state would have with it would be to keep them beds filled. So that what's going to happen, because of this influx of people who have a lot of vices, who cannot supply their needs, crime will go up. I mean, we haven't seen the likes of what's about to take place. Okay, and this is the aftermath of what I'm talking about. Because once we go through that traumatic state, when the event takes place, okay, and then again, if you go back and you go through the Martin time and look at how people reacted, and you burn down, okay, you won't have the supplies. You won't be, I mean, if you don't own stores and we don't have those kind of, you know, facilities to transport in and out and to establish, then how long? When you look at the King Alfred program, it told you specifically that it would take us, it would take less than a day regardless, even if you had enough ammunition that probably could carry you for so many hours. But they got it down to a science. Are we prepared for that? Okay. And so I'm just bringing this as awareness, because I think sometimes we kind of walk around zombie-tized, where our minds is fixed upon things that are part of escapism. We'll talk about UFOs, we'll talk about reptilians, we'll talk about all these other things, but we don't deal with the reality aspect of it is, and we all, for those who are conscious and who do a lot of research in and understanding the mechanisms and the machinations of this dynamic of this power that's about to, infiltrate everyone's life, is that this ain't something that they did not just start overnight. This has been a plan that has been in the making and is getting to that point of fruition. And to be now starting to talk about, as we have some brothers and some sisters out here who are talking about establishing, we talking about, status as and sovereignty, and to get property. I mean, eminent domain, when it comes to your property, that is a done deal. People tend to think that you own. I mean, obviously, most of us don't even understand the dynamic of how the bankers had already taken over back in about 1789, it might have been. Because I'm pretty sure, I think this first bank was established somewhere between 89 and 91. And that was because of, if you understand, when they give you the story of Christopher Columbus, this isn't just some regular, this ain't no regular cat that just had a boat that just came over here and he was discovered. He worked for somebody. He was doing the work for somebody. And when you talk about doing the work of somebody, most likely he was doing the work of an empire, in which was England. Okay, they tell you the Spanish, or they talk about Queen Isabella and all that other stuff. But again, these are just other conclaves that are part of the factions of the one dynamic that controls it all. And so what I'm saying here is this: when those who came here as representatives for that monarch, and they established for them, and they started to build and started to see the prosperity and the possibilities, yeah, people get greedy. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what ended up happening. That's what that first war was supposed to have been about. When they talk about no taxation without representation, well, you may be here physically on the land, but you don't own the land or the property. You don't have no title deed to it. So guess what the taxation really was about? The taxation was about paying to the queen. And so that's what our tax money is basically towards. When they fought that first war, they went to them and asked them for money to help them to supply so that they could fight. They reneged on those loans. Then they asked for an extension. Then the extension was allowing them to set up certain things. And then once they started setting up certain things, they got in, they rechanged it, and they just basically usurped it again right from under you. But you still believing that this is separate from somebody else, and it's really under their damn power. You feel what I'm saying? And so when they tell you about your birth certificate, right, and they tell you about your social security number, understand how that so-called instrument is being used and how you're being used in it, and what is that money being used for. Okay, and then when they tell you about the so-called what they call that, the not the deficit of the country, but when they talk about, what is the national debt of the country, they're talking about the money, there has not been any money. So how can you pay debt with something that you do not have? Because the people who furnished you, okay, let's put it this way. If I can make money, print money, got ink and paper, and here's you who want to set up a shop, and based on me providing you with my service of paper and ink, you're going to be able to function with your shop, and people that come to your shop will use the money that I supply you with as a reality, as what you consider money. Okay? Now, no matter how much whatever the denominations that I cut for you, I'm only going to charge you pennies per cut. Now, that's part of my business right there, is that I'm cutting money for you. But what are you paying me with? I'm not taking when I know that doesn't have any value to it. Do we understand this game? How can I take what I'm printing that you consider to be money when I know that's not money? That's just something that my business does, is print a currency. But that doesn't make it to be actual money. Again, the difference between legally and lawfully is two different things. But anyway, let's stick to the subject. Are we prepared? And no, we're not. We're a long ways from being prepared, because we're just, Johnny come lately jumping off this boat and getting into a lot of realms of fields of study that are not getting us prepared for what's coming down the line. We need to be talking about water. We need to be talking about canned goods. We need to be talking about setting up these communities in certain ways so that, if these things should befall us, how do we maintain? Okay? See, we being so bombarded with so much of the things that keep you from focusing and thinking that you're not even looking at the real picture here. Okay? Because we're so in love with a fairy tale, a story, that sometimes reality, we do everything to escape it. That's why people do that have so many vices. That's why people drink. That's why people smoke. That's why people are having so much sex. This is, taking drugs. You understand what I'm saying? The fixation is to keep themselves with dealing with the reality. Because the majority of you people, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't like what you see. So, if the fix happens, do you have a plan? Do we have a plan? I'll leave that for y'all to ponder over. Well, until my next time, the next time I put one out here, let's start preparing, y'all. I understand that by this being out here, anyone and everyone can hear this. But I'm not afraid about what I'm saying here. I'm talking out of the love of my heart for my people. You feel what I'm saying? And that all of us have a part to play. Your part is reach one, teach one, tell one. Because if we keep walking around here as they're actually, the way they're doing it, really, when they do these zombie movies, who do you really think they're talking about when they say The Walking Dead? Because if you took the word Negro, alright, I'm going to do a little teaching real quick before I close this up. The Negro, according to the story, is the one the devil took and robbed him of his culture, his language, stripped him of everything, made him a slave, and they call him Negro because he is closest to what a man can be without literally being dead. That's a zombie. So a lot of times these movies that a lot of you have a fixation with and sitting there watching, it's really a depiction of somebody. But the characters that majority of them playing, you don't never pick up on it. But you are the walking dead. You are the useless eaters. We are. This is Mr. Blows Your Mind. Come with another thought-provoking topic. Until next time, preparation, y'all. Preparation.
Can I talk to you for a second? Pino, who's your favorite basketball player? Magic Johnson. Who's your favorite movie star? Eddie Murphy. Who's your favorite rock star? Prince. You're a Prince horse. Bruce. Prince. Bruce. Pino, all you ever talk about is nigga this and nigga that. And all your favorite people are so-called niggas. It's different. Magic, Eddie, Prince are not niggas. I mean, they're not black. I mean, let me explain myself. They're not really black. I mean, they're black, but they're not really black. They're more than black. It's different. It's different? Yeah, to me, it's different. You know, deep down inside, I think you wish you were black. Get the fuck out of here. Black if you want to. You know, your hair is kinkier than mine. What does that mean? And you know what they say about dark Italians? You know, I've been listening and reading. You've been reading now? I've been reading about your leaders. Reverend Al, Mr. Do, Sharp Tone, Jesse. Keep hope alive. That's fucked up. Keep hope alive. Hey, that's fucked. Don't talk about Jesse. And even the other guy, what's his name? Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan. Right, sorry. Minister Farrakhan. Anyway, Minister Farrakhan always talks about the so-called day when the black man will rise. We will one day, what does he say? We will one day rule the earth as we did in our glorious past. Yeah, that's right. What past you talking about? I mean, what did I miss? We started civilization. Man, keep dreaming, man. Then you woke up. Pino, fuck you, fuck your fucking pizza, and fuck Frank Sinatra. Yeah? Well, fuck you too, and fuck Michael Jackson. Dago Wab, Guinea, garlic bread, pizza slinger, spaghetti bending, Victor Mon, Perry Como, Luciano Pavarotti, solo meal non-singer motherfucker. You gold teeth, gold chain wearing, fried chicken and biscuit eating, monkey, ape, baboon, big guy, fast running, high jumping, spear chucking, 360 degree, basketball dunking, titsoon, spade, mulligan. Take your fucking pizza and go the fuck back to Africa.